Addiction is prevalent today, and there is no community that it hasn't affected. So today, we have some amazing guests on the show to talk about how we can deal with addiction in our families.
Hey, brave girl, how you do the things that you do.
Welcome to the Brave Talk Show, the show for brave women craving the connection that comes with real conversations about struggles, concerns, and TMI details we face every day. We have an episode every week, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can be brave with us. I'm Robin.
I'm Brittany.
I'm Teresa.
And I'm Vanessa.
You guys, today we are talking about addiction recovery. But first, Hot Topics.
Hot Topics.
You ready? Where's the timer? 2 minutes, go!
All right, so a couple of weeks ago, a well-known lady named Rachel Hollis, very
Girl Wash Your Face.
Yeah, Girl Wash Your Face author, influential speaker. She publicly messed up on a TikTok video where she was talking about how she had a woman come into her house twice a week to clean her toilets. Someone called her out on that show and said, "Hey, you are really privileged." And then she did a comeback video that said, "Yes, I'm privileged because I work hard and I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And if I, we're supposed to be relatable, then I'd be doing it wrong." Well, then people got really upset again. It's like, what? 4 o'clock in the morning, So then they got upset again. She then tried to apologize. But what she did when she apologized was she basically blamed her team for what she said. And then she got called out again for blaming her team. So then she made another apology, blaming her team again in a different way.
3 strikes, you're out.
Finally deleted the Instagram post and now has a true, what looks like a nice, true apology at this point. So what do you guys, I'm not sure if you guys follow what happened. Our question really is, what do you guys think and what can we learn from Rachel Hollis?
Didn't she also tag influential people? Yeah, she tagged Oprah, Harriet Tubman.
What?
You compared to herself.
Yeah, she compared herself to them.
Whoa.
I'm not relatable. I've worked my tail off, just like these other women.
I think the key is it's okay to have somebody come and clean your house. I feel like if you work hard for that and that's something you want, that's great. But I just think you also have to be aware and conscious, especially when she has a platform so big, to use the word a woman coming to clean my toilet. I feel like that's just not the way to go about it.
She could have been like, "My beautiful, amazing Sophia, I'm so grateful she comes every week and helps me clean my house." She just didn't feel very nice.
Mm-hmm. I think honestly what it shows is that Rachel's insecure. She's a human being, and even though she has millions of followers and has wrote 2 books and you know what I mean, she's up on this high platform, she still is just like all the rest of us and has insecurities. The fact that she felt like she needed to justify having a cleaner at her house, and she's like, whatever, I've worked my tail off for this. All of that was totally unnecessary. There are lots of us who have people who come and clean our house, and you don't need to justify it, and I don't know. I just felt like that really spoke to her insecurities, and then the fact that she kept throwing her team under the bus instead of just accepting the responsibility for it, it was a big no-no for me.
I agree. And, I don't want to bash her. I want to really kind of learn from her. And I know, here we are, we're doing this show, and we don't know what's going to happen. We hope that this show makes a huge impact on people. And so we might get to a place in our own careers where we have even more, influence. And I want to learn from her experience and thinking, okay, whenever I'm going live or talking, to really think about who my audience is and how can I lift them up rather than lift myself up. And I understand she probably was triggered when she was called privileged. For a lot of white people, that can feel very offensive because they have worked hard and they have gone through struggles, and she has gone through a lot. And so we can get on the defense real quick and want to put people down in order to justify our hard work. But there's, I think, a way to be graceful with that. And that's something that I hope that I can just think about when I start doing more lives, doing more videos and so forth, and making a bigger impact.
And I think that's the key point. I think because she's been doing it for so long and she have that audience, I think we also have to be conscious of what we're saying. Before we post something, she said she has a team. Did they not look at this before you post it? You just have to go further than just posting something because you feel like it. have your husband look at it. Like, does this really make sense for me to be posting that right now?
Or at least be gracious and apologize for real. Like, don't fake apologize and not mean it. When you apologize, mean it.
Yeah. Well, ladies, you know we could talk forever. We gotta wrap it up.
Wrap it
2
up.
minutes is over, and I'm so excited for the topic today,
Yes.
you guys. We have
Good show.
my good friends. We're gonna introduce them next. So get ready. Addiction recovery master Danny Deaton and his wife Emily are here with the raw and honest truth about addiction, marriage, faith, and family life. Individually, they face drug addiction, divorce, teenage pregnancy, adoption, and incarceration. Together, they have created Living Proof Recovery Services. Their mission is to support the families of addicts with their digital course offering and one-on-one consulting. More families need to win this fight, and they are ready to get in your corner and show you how. You guys, thank you for coming.
We're so glad to be here.
I feel like I should just strip down and bare it all after that rap sheet, right?
You should. I mean, right here.
That's why you're here.
Gave you all the ugly details, so I'm like, well, let's just get this
So
over
you've
with.
been in jail, you've been addicted to drugs, teen pregnancy. Let's just talk about it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hear your story. Tell us about you guys.
Well,
You go ahead.
we have been married for how many years?
Around 13.
Yeah.
Give or take.
13 years. And when we met, he was about a year post into his sobriety.
Okay.
So we started off with a bang. This is the only way we know how to roll. It's just we went for it. We got married, and we just started our family and got going.
Let me intervene, because truth be told, I was putting back the pieces of my life. I had quite literally just scraped myself off the concrete. Had spent time behind bars. I had been in a treatment center for quite some time. I was facing a harsh reality of putting back together the pieces of a broken life. And of course, I don't want to bore people with my whole story before, but this was all after, graduating from college, serving a mission for my church, being accomplished in school and sports, and really dominating life, having had already started a business. So this was all after.
You were married, weren't you?
Yeah, before.
Before you got into
Yeah.
drugs.
And so,
Not to Emily.
No,
Yeah.
correct. This was at a time in my life when I was at the most broken, humble, stripped down state a person could be.
Yeah.
And so, meanwhile, when I met her and we were introduced by some friends, some really dear friends, because at that age it's real awkward.
Yeah, I'm 30. He's 31.
Yeah.
You're part of the very unique
old.
group, right?
Old
No one knows quite what to do with it. Everyone's on eggshells about
Yeah.
how to treat you or what to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when we got introduced, it was really hard because instantly I really liked her, obviously.
Yeah. How could you not?
Exactly.
Yes.
But
Look at
she
her.
was dominating life. She was working at Tahitian Noni. Honestly, the week I met her, she was flying to all sorts of different countries in the world. I think
I was going to Tokyo to meet
Tokyo on our first date, somewhere else. She had her own place. She had one room in her house that was just full of shoes and things for her dog.
Yes, girl.
The girl after my heart. I
And
bet.
so
I
here
know
I
it.
am,
I'm not gonna
as
say it's not
broken as
true.
can be. This is the only story we're going to sum up, and then if you want to say anything.
Yeah.
But the honest truth, because after that rap sheet introduction, there's nothing else to hide. Our very first date, I had yet to receive my first paycheck. I had gotten a job. I had just gotten a driver's license. We're talking like bare bottom. I didn't have enough money to take her out. I was waiting on a paycheck, and I didn't want to ask my parents for money in advance or someone at that age in my life, so I did what I knew best, and I pawned my golf clubs.
Really?
To take you on a date.
Yeah.
Pawning really well.
That
You know,
is sweet.
My
Yeah.
past history.
Yeah, you know how to do that.
I was
I got this. I got
resourceful.
this.
So I pawned my golf clubs.
They were probably golf clubs that you had already pawned.
Oh my gosh, she knows.
2 tags. They had already been
Yeah.
twice. And then
Got him back.
Yes.
and,
Many other things just
Don't worry,
disappeared in the
guys.
pawn
He
shop
got
world,
it
but
back.
So the third time.
great.
Yes.
All
Third
right.
time.
I got them back, and I used them for a very good reason. So we went on this date. I was blown away. I was mesmerized. I was attracted to her, all the above. So we come outside after the date, and she's wondering, and this is back when things are a little bit different. I mean, phones have evolved in social media, but back then you still had to have the courage to exchange phone numbers, right?
Right.
So I'm sure she's wondering and waiting. She turns around and go ahead, and in your words.
I was just like, here it goes. Like, he's going to for sure want my number because we're going to go out again.
Clearly, he
And
loves me, right?
all
Right,
of a sudden, he was gone. And I was like, no, where did he go? Like, he didn't.
Like a magic trick.
I'm like, he just
gone?
disappeared. I can't believe it. Like, I was like, I mean, it's fine if he doesn't like me, but wow, he just like disappeared. That was crazy.
Okay.
And just hold on. I stood there in shock, and then I got in my car and I drove away, and I was like, I wonder what happened. Now, a couple days later, I finally do get a phone call, and I'm like, you know, what in the world?
But I didn't tell you at that point. It was a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
but we went out again, and that's when he told me, I saw your car, and I knew what kind of car I had, and so I actually just ducked and rolled underneath a car so that you didn't see what kind of car I got into.
Yeah, that's straight up male pride. You know,
And I
we're
was
all
like,
struggle
wow,
buddies. So
who do you think I am? Like,
We
he
walked
really
out.
thought I cared, and he really did.
I was nervous. I was insecure. So I dropped and rolled underneath the car.
Stop, drop, and roll worked
I
right
did.
then.
Yeah,
I waited.
right. He
I
remembered
patiently
it from
waited
third
till I
grade
watched
and
her
did it.
in these high heels walk around the parking lot, and I'm on the ground like. As soon as they were far enough away, I was like,
Amazing.
got in my car, and I'm like, I'm gonna marry that woman.
And she's like, that D-bag.
I can't even believe he didn't have the
So
courage
you
to ask for
didn't
my
know
number.
at this point any of his past.
I knew a little bit. We talked a tiny bit. I mean, again, this was a date where we were with another couple. That,
Okay.
You know, so we got into it a little bit. He let me know he had
No, but
kind
she
of,
didn't know.
She didn't know about
kind of a
jail.
little
She
bit,
didn't know about.
but he didn't know a lot about, you know, me. We didn't get into tons of details, but we knew that we liked each other, and I thought he was interesting, and that I wanted to get to know him. And
You wanted a second date.
yeah, I wanted a second date. And so, anyway, it kind of escalated quickly from there.
Aside from all the circus act that I performed that day, it was, looking back, it was such a beautiful and incredible experience that we had two people, a husband and wife, who knew us both
Separately.
separately well about the struggles we had been through. And they moved mountains to get us together. And when they did, they knew that there would be a really good shot. And so, obviously, like all of us, there's this journey, right, that you go on, and many things happen. But I think it's good to summarize how we started, like how it began.
Yeah.
And it was, for me, it had a really unique situation, and for her it was too, in a different way, right? And so we just both had pasts that we had experienced and been through. And as I've gotten older and now accepted the reality of being in my mid-40s and getting to know a lot of people, everyone has a past.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
But it was beautiful that both of us had, therefore, as we found out more about, like, we peeled back the layers. And it was fun dating at that age. It is awkward, but, you know, we both had a lifetime before each other. And then when we met, we're starting, you know, on your second date, it's like, okay, here, check this, this, and this.
Totally.
Your
Right.
third date, it's like, hey, I need to see what you look like without your clothes on. Let's get to business. Not going to touch me, but I just need to check that box, because if it doesn't work, we're not going to date 4.
Right.
Let's go
I
swimming.
love that.
Yeah, seriously, we're going hot tubbing.
Hot tubbing.
Yeah,
It's just the
that's
next
right.
step, right?
See you in a bikini.
was the third date.
We got right to it. And we both found out that we had both been through quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that honestly is what was so beautiful about it, was he had gotten to a place where he wanted to be vulnerable because he knew that was what it would take for him to live in sobriety, was to live his truth.
Yeah.
And so he had to divulge all of this, you know, darkness that he had lived through to me, and hope that I would, you know, accept it. And what was interesting is I also had a ton of darkness that I had worked my way through, that I was, you know, protecting with my life.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot for me to get to a place where I was like, you know, I'm willing to share this with you. And so it kind of took both of our broken pieces to make us work. And so when he was open and very transparent about what he had gone through, I was kind of like, oh.
You weren't judgmental.
Yeah.
Big deal. I'm like, you want to hear a story?
Let me tell you one.
You know, I mean, mine wasn't with drugs, but I had been to a place that required me to pick myself up off the floor and desire to live and to keep going. And so we just had that. And once we were able to connect like that, it was honestly like, okay, we're doing this. And we got married and just went for it.
And at the beginning, you know, this is a show for, it's brave women, right?
Yes.
I'm the bravest one. I'm the bravest one for being here.
That's right.
I'm just kidding. I'm the luckiest guy. All the beautiful women, and here I am enjoying my day. But she said to me many years later, 7 or 8 years later, you know what? My favorite version of you is when we met. But as a man, all my insecurities were in full exposure. I didn't have any money. I didn't really have a great car. I barely had a place. I didn't have anything to offer, right? And as a man, we're just trying to think, well, what am I going to give you?
He wasn't allowed to have steak knives in his house.
Yeah, no, I still, that means you're still being watched over by some sort of government agency. So it was a humble place. But when I asked her, I was like, are you kidding me? That was the most pathetic. Like, look, I wasn't working out as much. I didn't have anything to offer. I had no money. But you know, it was that vulnerable state where she's like, no, I just kind of missed that when you were so open and transparent and that humility was in full force. So
Women crave that.
Yeah.
That's what,
Oh, yeah.
if any men are listening right now, that's what a woman wants.
What a beautiful story. Well, so you guys are addiction experts. You help people recover. But I think it's important for our audience to understand you were an addict.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how because you were like established in life before you became a drug addict.
Yeah.
Can you give us how did that all happen?
You know, everyone always asks that question, you know, when they find their loved one. And by the way, just to start off on that is when I talk to people about where I've been and what I've been through, it's no longer, oh yeah, I was doing genealogy and I think my fourth uncle on my mom's side, that's not the case. It is my husband, it's my brother, it's my sister, it's my father.
It's close to home.
It's close to home.
Yes.
And so that's been the most beautiful part about being open and honest about what I've been through is for every handful or every couple of people that maybe look at me a little bit different, I have been embraced and just gravitated towards so many more.
Yes.
And but everyone asks that question, well, what is it, right? What is it? Like everyone wants to know the why, the reason, what got you there? And for some people it's serious trauma. Like heinous experiences. I was molested when I was a child by my uncle, which is a common story these days. Or they felt neglected or never knew who their parents were. Something that was more outstanding and justifiable for any person.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that makes sense, right? Well, mine wasn't that, and millions of others are the same, right? I didn't know what it was, and it took lots of time, and it took probably into a year of recovery for me to truly recognize that it was just my insecurities of not amounting to enough. The fear of failure, right? It took me 43 years for me to even loosen my tongue to say that to myself in the mirror, but it was the insecurities and fear of not mounting up to be something, right?
Yeah.
Like this expectation. And truthfully, that was before, again, social media and this now new and impossible expectation, whether you're a male or female, to be this. You know, back then I was just going off of like people I knew, my father, my uncle, my neighbor, but still the expectation to be this. So mine started with little lies. Like I was always like, you know, dating girls. I had a cooler car than I did. I made more money than I did. You know, I went on a vacation somewhere more exotic than I really did. And it was like trying to make myself seem cooler. And then that starts to put this pressure on. So it started really small. It started with something that most people are like, come on, knock it off, right? But you don't, when you treat the problem like that you need to knock it off, well, it never goes away and it just evolves. So that was mine. It was just this pressure of becoming something. And until I became that something, I didn't feel good enough. No one knew that though. It was just a feeling inside.
Yeah.
You know, I think people around me would see the way I acted, the way I lived life with sports and social life, that, oh my gosh, everything's awesome. It's just dominating life. Well, inside, I just didn't feel enough. And that's what started to fester. And
It's interesting because I have some addiction in my family too, and one of the things that we've come to recognize is that the addiction itself is not the problem. A lot of us think that that's the problem. If they would just get off the drugs, everything would be fine. But the addiction itself is actually a symptom of a deeper problem. So even when you get off the drugs, you still have that same problem that you had before the drugs. Now you got to figure out how to solve that problem without it.
Exactly.
So it sounds like to me like it was a temporary Band-Aid. What was your addiction to?
well, everyone always asks that. What's your DOC, which means what's your drug of choice,
of
right? Any
choice,
treatment
yeah.
center, hospital, doctor, facility is going to ask that. And I'm like, what? I don't know. All of them. Anything.
Yeah.
What's on the
to
menu?
Take the pain away. And
Yeah.
to take
Trying
It
to
always
fix
starts with something
something,
small,
yeah.
right? Like I've heard 30 stories in the last 30 days from families here in my own community, which it started out with, you know, occasional pornography and maybe some drinking with friends, or then they're vaping, and then it always starts there, right? So did mine.
Right.
All roads in addiction lead to the best, which is the worst. So you're going to eventually end up taking the best of drugs, right? Like addiction's progressive. So if it's alcohol, you're going to end up drinking enough that would kill any 10 to 15 human beings before you have lunch.
Right.
But when it comes to drugs, it's always progressive, right? And the common story, you know, in most communities is opioids now taking a hold of people. So whether they got injured or something, or the doctor's prescribing for this or that, well, those instantly take the pain away, right? And they weren't out seeking things. They weren't drinking or smoking or doing things, but then they found a solution, right? And what's the phrase we always use?
Yeah, there's no solution is as permanent as a temporary solution.
You guys just posted that on your Instagram the other day.
I love
And you
that.
think about it,
That's
it's
good.
true. We so often just create these temporary solutions, and they become the most permanent thing we do in life.
That's true.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to addiction, it's the killer.
Deadly.
So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mine just started with pain pills, and this was after graduating college and a mission and being established. And it started there. Well, what it ends up is shooting heroin and cocaine into any vein that's left in my body.
Wow.
And you almost died.
Yeah,
I remember you told me a story like you were literally dying and your dad found you.
I did. I actually did more than once. My wife got to hear a story that I wished someone wouldn't have shared recently, which was I had overdosed, and a friend of mine. I mean, this is real. When you talk, what was the phrase you guys used in your opening theme? We're going to talk about
TMI.
TMI.
Tell
Yeah.
them, yeah.
Yeah, my wife just recently heard a story, which she didn't need to hear. There's some things a mom or a wife doesn't need to hear, which is a friend saying, oh, yeah, he was dead, and I had to inject cocaine into his neck in a vein to wake his heart back up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I,
So-
have I guess one of the questions, when did you realize you hit rock bottom? Because
Yeah.
you've been through a lot, but there has to be, I used to work at a treatment center, and there's always that
rock
one
bottom.
point where it's just like, this is rock bottom.
You know, that's my favorite question because there's no such thing.
Yes.
Really?
People always say, well, they're going to have to hit rock bottom before they figure it out. Well, rock bottom is death,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
So there are moments, right? And I think where people interpret that differently is, to me, it's when are you sick and tired enough of being sick and tired?
Yes.
Like when have you had it, right?
Yeah.
Because thinking that this rock bottom is going to be this ultimate defining moment
Right,
where
yeah.
you're going to pivot and change.
Or
won't
there's
happen.
like a consequence that you're suffering that's so painful that you're going to change.
Yeah, because I wish I could tuck all four of you beautiful women in my back pocket and take you with me for a week to hear the most repetitive story over and over, which is, oh my gosh, like I thought they would have when they overdosed and the ambulance took them to the hospital. No,
That's not it.
not even for the second time.
not
Or
it.
when they got out of jail after being sentenced for 30 days and the judge says, if you get in trouble or use again, you're coming back for a year. Nope.
Or the kids
It's
being
just when
taken
you
away. Or
decide.
the kids being put in
They
the
lose their
system.
children.
I work in the system, and I go to job corps all the time, and these parents 10 times their kids been taken away, and that's not
It's not
rock
enough.
bottom
enough.
for them.
So
Yeah.
really what happens is if there is that pivotal moment, it's when someone is sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I love that.
But our business was created around not waiting for that magical moment, that magical day, because it doesn't come.
So
And
tell
if
us
it
about
does-
your business.
Yeah, so how,
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you
Do
do
you
that
guys
then?
just work with drug addiction or all?
Yeah.
types?
Well, what did we do for 10 years?
Yeah, for 10 years, we actually owned a restaurant.
We owned and operated a restaurant.
And it slowly drained the life out of him and then me. So we sold them, and now we've been doing this full time because this is truly what we should have been doing all the way
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
I feel called to do
purpose.
it.
Yeah, absolutely purposed to do this with 100% surety. So
Well, to all my foodies out there,
yeah, this is true.
the only thing
true.
to date that I have come to know that is harder than overcoming a drug addiction is owning and operating a restaurant. So to anybody out there, I hug you, embracing you. Just feel it. I'm
Yep.
holding you right now
Yep.
because you are amazing.
And you said multiple restaurants.
Yeah, well, same brand, but what we did is we did that for a purpose because my goal again was trying to gain back everything I'd lost. I needed to provide financially.
Yeah.
It was tough, but I knew the opportunity, as rough as it was, would help us to get to the point as quickly as I wanted to. Well, it didn't.
So
There was
he
some-
literally laid his life on the line. And I say that like I'm not even joking because I'm like, if you own a restaurant that opens at 7 a.m. and closes at 10 p.m. and thrives the most during every holiday, then you are putting yourself on the line
yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point. There was like 2 hours in every 24-hour period where no one would be inside of the restaurant, baking and whatever. So I'm like, it truly was a sacrifice and one that I admire because again, we're dealing with somebody who was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to pick myself up and to move forward. And even if it means unclogging the toilet that my $10 an hour employee would never unclog.
Right.
That's me right now. And I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it for my family.
I know. I was always trying to find out when that cleaning person would come. 'Cause that was me all day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great, but it kept me grounded. It kept me determined, and I was trying to provide for this family that the dream I had and I had lost was now in my grasp again, and so I would do anything it took. That entire journey, while doing that, I always offered my help, assistance, and guidance to anyone, whether it was in church, community, work, in our neighborhood, at the gym. I was open and honest about who I was and where I'd been through. Always introduced myself. I mean, in church, I'd be like, "Hi, my name's Danny. I'm a recovering drug addict. Grateful to be here. Let me give my talk," wherever it was. But people needed help, and I loved giving back. It was the only way to take something that's so dark, so terrible, and to turn it into something, it helped other people, but ultimately it helped myself.
Yeah.
Because for many years, I couldn't even accept that God was allowing me to feel forgiven unless I did that. So I did it, and I realized how many people needed help. I realized that, I know this may sound weird, but I was really good at it.
Yeah.
So this is where I need to interject because I'm like, I seriously would hear him having these conversations with people like he was speaking, a second language that was really just natural to him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think you understand how valuable what you just said was to them. Like that is literally going to change the course of their life. And he kind of would be like, yeah, I mean, hopefully it helped, and I'm like, no, like you have no idea what you're doing. And that at that point, that's when I was really like, let's really focus on this because what do we want at the end of the day? Like, what do we want to say we did in our life? Like, did we build up the biggest business bakery ever? Or did we do what we were passionate about? And did we help other people? I mean, really. And again, he's so good at it. So I'm like, this isn't like, gosh, I'm going to have to train really hard to get good at this. I mean, it's just natural. So
Well, it was hard at the beginning because it's not a subject that anyone loves, right? It's not like, oh my gosh, let's go listen about addiction.
yeah.
I mean, it's the greatest subject ever.
Yeah.
But the reality is we're all affected by it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
So what do you actually do? Like, do you go in the middle of the night and take people out of their houses or like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I stopped. We did this full time. I went and got certified to do this. The term that people are familiar with is called interventionist.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a popular show on A&E.
Yes.
I think it's ridiculous.
We don't do that.
My goal is to do everything humanly possible
To not do that.
To not do
so
that.
that we don't need that.
Yeah.
Now, I say that jokingly, but are there times when that's beneficial? Most definitely. But it's not what you've seen.
Yeah.
It's not in that setting, right, where it makes for good daytime drama.
Yeah.
Right.
Television. It's done differently. It's calculated. it's prepared, it's planned, and it's done the right way, and it doesn't give you a guarantee, right? But I went and got certified to do this. I committed to doing it full time. And to answer your question, it's all the above. Most of my time is spent, just to, I guess, summarize it in a simple way, I begin with the person who's fighting to save their loved one. And it's typically mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mom.
95% of my clients, if you looked at all my files, are mom.
Okay.
Reaching out. I've read everything. I've tried it. I've listened to everything. I've made myself sick. I have stacks of books in my room. I've watched every audiobook about what I can do to help, and they're lost. Meanwhile, their family is in disarray because the other children have now built up resentments, anger, because here I am doing great in life, and Joey's getting all your attention and consuming mom.
Yeah.
Dad doesn't know what to do, and his pride and ego's crippled him, and so he just works. He stays at work as long as he can. He's not
This is so real.
Disappear.
it's so it's so
Yeah.
real. So one person's sick in the family, everybody else is affected by it, and then there's usually one person, and it's not always mom, but most of the time, that's the person I begin the journey with. We work through the process, we identify what's going on, and of course, when it comes to offering them resources of where they can go based upon their financial status or insurance, that's easy. But it's helping them identify where they're failing. Right?
Where they're failing as a,
Support system?
as
Right.
what?
So here's the kicker. Addiction's so broad. I mean, we have homeless people flooding every city. There's so many different levels of it. For a person to go out and have an impact on the whole spectrum is impossible.
Right.
What we did is we said, who's our target, right? It's me. It's anyone who has a family left to help support them. I can't help everyone, but what I'd said is I'm going to go and I'm going to help those people who have a group of people, a family left that care about them. Even if some of them don't want to talk to you, they still care.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help them
Help you.
build a structure sufficient to the resistance of that loved one so that they might have a chance. Okay? Because everyone's like, well, they have to want it for themselves. Don't I hear that every day?
Every day. Well, I want you to talk to them and convince them that they need help.
Yeah.
Nope. Not going to do that. Don't want to talk to them at all. We want to talk to you because you can actually influence the outcome.
Really?
They won't understand, don't want to hear it. We're not even going to talk to them for months.
So May 1st, 2021 will be my 14-year sobriety date. And
Congratulations.
it's awesome. We now
Yes,
celebrate
yes,
that.
yes.
rather
We
than
do.
the
We
day.
celebrate.
Like a birthday?
Like,
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we party.
But
Yeah.
I have yet to, in that time period, hear of anyone who just all of a sudden put on their Sunday best, gathered the family around. Hey, guys, my life has become unmanageable. I have an addiction. It's taken over my life. I'm sure it's
Yeah,
affected you
not gonna
guys.
happen.
Yeah.
Can you guys help me?
Yeah.
No. They're swearing, yelling, running amok. They're punching holes in the wall. And what the family does is run behind and patch those holes up as quick as they can. Whether it's a place to stay for the night, whether it's a little bit of money because they're hungry or they're tired or they're
That's
crying.
what they're failing at. When he said, when you asked what do you teach them,
Right.
it's that. It's, oh, well, you're running right behind them and you're fixing
Fixing
everything
everything.
as
Like
soon as they-
enabling.
So that's not helping. So you could immediately stop doing that. And here's another thing you could immediately do that would definitely help send the message that you're not going on this merry-go-round ride with them for one more day.
Yeah.
They can keep riding it, but you're off. We're not doing this anymore.
And it's a concept that people know, but executing it's difficult.
Yeah.
I have a question
Executing
based on
it
that
is
then.
the biggest problem.
Because I've seen, like working with addicts, I've seen where the family has tried to help so many times. And after them being in treatment for 6th time now, where the wife or the mom has to be like, I'm done. Like, what does that do to an addict? Because I've seen it a little bit, but like, what does that do when those people that have
Walk
been
away.
fixing this hole behind them walk away and put that hands like, I'm done?
Yes, nothing about addiction is easy. It's not for the family. It's not for the person suffering. But usually it's because they failed to execute what's needed after. When you get a loved one to treatment, if you're that lucky, you just got to the starting line of the biggest marathon of your life. So understanding what it's going to take once they get home, and people are like, oh my gosh, we just spent like all this money and we put them to this place. What do you mean they're not
Should be
fixed?
fixed.
Yep.
So
Fix them.
I don't offer clinical help. I'm not here from a therapeutic standpoint to sit down with someone. I'm not good at that. I have someone who helps me that does that.
Yeah.
Most of us do if you're living a healthy life. But I'm there to help them understand from someone's perspective who has been in their loved one's shoes what they're doing to help them keep this thing afloat. Because truthfully, here's the bottom line. I had an addiction of many years that came to an abrupt halt in a matter of weeks once my family learned what it took to stand united.
Wow.
Right? To stand united and to say, we love you. We will never stop loving you. And I would do anything in my power to help. But we're no longer going to contribute to your death. Now, saying that is so much easier than done.
Right.
It's like,
Because every parent in the world questions, well, what if they needed this? What if they called and said this? Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I, you
Don't
know?
fall to it.
So
yeah.
what we've done is we really did something to help, right? No one wants to come out and be like, oh my gosh, my son's addicted to cocaine. We created some online courses that are very simple. And these are not to help your son who's addicted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
No.
If you want to understand what you and your family are empowered to do to help change the outcome, it's a simple process that walks them through.
This is
that.
awesome.
Great.
It's specifically targeted for the families. Okay, now there's one course in there that helps them understand why your loved one's so crazy. As we are, I was. That's not the issue. It helps them empower themselves with how to change the outcome. Aside from that, I do a lot of individual one-on-one work. And yes, just in the last week, I have taken someone who was in a hotel room, drove them there in my car, to a
Drove 'em to
detox center, and then
detox.
went back and got their car and took it to the rehab for them. And I have gone and held a mother whose son just was taken by the ambulance in a medical induced coma, basically from alcohol withdrawals, and just held her. And then our first meeting was right then and there. So there are the ugly, raw aspects of it, and I love it.
Yeah.
So I have a question. You know, we have addiction in my family, and we through a lot of different situations came to the conclusion that I think that you're coaching a lot of families to do, where we have all finally. It took a while. Even my mom, it was so hard for her. She was the one that hung on the longest with some things that were enabling and so forth, just because she loved my my brother. But we're at a place where we've all stood united, and it's 2 years now, and we don't see him, we don't talk to him. He doesn't seem interested in having anything to do with us. What would you say to a family who's now in this place and who wants to have a reunion, but obviously the drugs are, in the way? What can be done? Is there anything that can be done?
Really appreciate your honesty and being vulnerable. So I'd love to give you an honest answer in return. That's the part of it that's not easy. However, what I've seen, and all I can do is sometimes share, the most beneficial thing is just when you've done something 1,000 times and you know what's going to come or what's going to happen just based upon consistency. It's a lot of families find themselves in that exact situation. But the ones who can live with peace in their heart are the ones that did everything they could do, right? And I'm sure you guys did everything you could do. But did you do it? Did you do it the right way? Did someone help you look at every little aspect, right? Because at the end of the day, when a family goes to their loved one and they have a legitimate, we call it the 72-hour kit, a legitimate offering to help save their life. Not only have you identified it, not only have you prepared this plan, but you've looked through the details of it. Like, okay, you know what? We can help with a place to stay after if they're doing this. You know what? I can help. The other sibling might be, I can help them financially. Mom and dad are like, okay, we'll help with getting them to treatment. Because listen, if someone's has a real addiction, they don't have the means to help themselves.
Yeah.
Everyone mentally and emotionally prepares for what they're willing to do to help. Then all you can do is present it. Can you actually physically take them and put them in there? No, a judge can, and that works sometimes. But once a family does everything they can, then when those terrible situations happen, where you're put into a situation just waiting for the worst, at least you have the peace of knowing that you did everything you could. because I've had both experiences with mothers recently. One who lost her son. We worked together. We went to battle. She lost him, and she called me weeks ago and said, hey, you know what? I'm just so grateful that we actually did everything we could. And I no longer lived with my head buried in the sand. So I'm okay, because I know he's better, right? That is part of it. That's not what people want to hear. But the reality is, thinking that this will just magically disappear, the next boyfriend, the right job, the next school, the next city is going to magically alter the course of your loved one's life is ridiculous.
It's true.
So thinking you're going to do it on your own won't work. Having someone else like myself or someone similar to me help you walk through the process might be the difference between saving their life or not.
So how can people find you? Like if they want to hire you, if they need your help, how can they find you?
Yeah, just go to our website at yourlivingproof.com. There's multiple ways to work with Danny. First of all, if you're like, I'm not really sure, you can just purchase the courses and watch them inside of your own bedroom and just educate yourself on the process and kind of and learn, what our mindset is. And then you could just schedule a consultation with Danny. And
There's
just
no
sit
better
down
show
with
for us
him.
to be on than Brave Women, because most of the moms that are fighting for someone are
They
going
are
to be
the
brave.
bravest souls.
So we'll leave a code that is accessible for anyone who watches this show for having us on, where they can have a significant
Actually, can
discount.
we just say what
Yeah.
the code
Yeah,
is
yeah.
right now?
We'll put it in
Okay.
the description box as well for
Yeah.
you.
Okay, but if you use code BRAVE25, it'll get you 25% off the courses.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
we hope our dream is to get more people healthy, including mom and dad. This is not just for the addict. I mean, these courses, I think that's the most rewarding part about it, is at the end, yes, this person, the addict, is on their way to a healthier life. They're at a different point. They're at that first step. But the rest of the family, they have also elevated. And they are healthier, and they are talking and having conversations that maybe they avoided for years, or maybe they just didn't even know about the pain that existed or the problem. And so that is our goal, is to get more families in a better place. Because addiction is kicking ass everywhere in the country.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the biggest threat out there, and,
And it's
it's
happening
not talked
younger
about.
and younger. I when I was younger, musicians, the big ones, the Kurt Cobains and the Jimi Hendrix, they all died at 27. That was like the magical year. It was always from a drug overdose. 27. Now, this generation, it's 21.
Yeah,
That's
it's
when all
younger.
the musicians are dying from drug addictions. So everything's just happening sooner. They're starting harder drugs sooner. It's terrible.
And our community in Utah needs it. I don't think people are aware how much fighting people are doing with drug and alcohol, because I work in the system and I see it all the time, how it affects not just the parents but the children.
Absolutely.
And so we need this. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for
So much.
Well,
giving
you
us
guys,
that.
we only have a few minutes left, but our viewers
Oh,
really
yes.
wanted to ask you a couple questions. So can we do
Awesome.
like a flash Q&A really fast?
I would love to if we could do a live with you guys sometime on
Yeah.
Instagram,
Yeah,
because
that
we
would be
did get a lot
great.
of questions
Yeah.
that
Oh,
we
we
can't
would
answer
love
today.
that.
So
Yeah,
that
Let's
would
do
be
a
great.
couple, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is, what's the worst thing you could tell an addict?
Knock it off.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
I'm just going to be short and sweet.
Yeah, I love
Yes,
it.
yes.
What about biggest mistake you can make when trying to get help?
Okay. Well, the biggest mistake you can make is not acting. That question, whoever asked that is probably speaking for someone they love.
Yeah.
Thinking that this person is going to reach out and ask for help won't happen. So the biggest mistake you can do is thinking that they're going to do that. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be proactive, and you're going to have to learn how to equip yourself with the tools and the resources to help alter their outcome, because they're not going to do it for themselves.
I love that. And then the last one. What's the best type of support you can give an addict who's in denial?
It's to stand your ground. It's to build a plan, again, a structure sufficient to their resistance, right? Arguing with them or trying to have a sensible conversation or debate or an argument with someone addicted to drugs or alcohol is the biggest waste of your time.
Okay.
So don't argue, don't feed into what they're doing. Get to work in building a plan that will help change their life.
Hire Danny.
Tired
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
And you know,
so much.
the
yeah.
mantra to our business, and I want to share this in closing, is it's our secrets that keep us sick.
Yes.
It's a
And it
secret
truly
that
is.
keeps us sick.
Addiction is affecting someone in your home,
Absolutely.
but you and your family are harboring their secrets. And it's become a secret that you also have,
Yes.
which is killing everyone in the home, not just your loved one. So yourlivingproof.com is our website. I'm the guy in the trenches. She's the one that accepts me and makes everything on there beautiful. We all know it's the women who make everything work. So we're a good team.
Brave 25, guys.
Well,
Yes.
thank you guys so much. This was powerful.
This was amazing.
And I know this affects us all. All of us have loved ones who have addiction. So please use this as a resource. Reach out to them. We hope that you love this episode. And thank you guys.
Yes, thank you for joining our Brave Conversations.
Have some brave topics you'd like to discuss? Leave your suggestions below. We'd love to hear from you.
And then if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to smash that subscribe button on our channel and the bell notification so that you don't miss our next episode. We'll be interviewing all sorts of amazing people with brave stories.
Are you ready for more? Click on the next video for more brave conversations. See you next week.
Hey, brave girl, how you do the things that you do?